With Peacemaker rocking them TV screens, it's about time to get into some behind-the-scenes deets for everyone's favorite John Cena rockin' tidy whities action comedy. Now this video was written prior to episode 6 dropping, by the way, so sorry if I missed the part where John Mulaney shows up playing Bouncing Boy or whatever.
I'm so horny and angry all the time, and I have no outlet for it, so...
First up, the most inspirational factoid about Peacemaker is that show creator James Gunn, writer of such classic works as the Guardians of the Galaxy films and Tromeo and Juliet, set out to write the whole series out of boredom. Yeah, he didn't actually think that it would be something that got, made, or not definitely made. Instead, he found himself locked down in quarantine working out what exactly made Peacemaker tick. In the Suicide Squad, of course, there is a lot of backstory for characters like Ratcatcher 2 and Polka-Dot Man, rip rip. But outside of a brief mention of his father and an extremely heart-wrenching character beat during his unaliving of Rick Flagg, we don't really get much more than misplaced bravado and bizarre life philosophies within the film itself. Gunn, an ardent comics fan, knew that there was more to the character, and of course, we've all seen John Cena in the role, so naturally Gunn wrote it up, giving himself a goal of 1 episode per week for 8 weeks. So all you writers out there, you just work up the gumption and channel your inner depression, I guess, and also be extremely wealthy. Actually, I don't know what the lesson is here. I guess James Gunn is rad and channeled his lockdown depression much better than most of us.
All done.
Of course, one of the many breakout stars of Peacemaker is Christopher Smith's pet eagle / best friend, Eagley.
Eagley's hardcore, man.
While it is fairly obvious that the extremely animated eagle is, well, animated, some viewers were curious how much of the eagle was practical, say a puppet or animatronic perhaps. In reality, Eagley was completely CGI, a creation of Weta Digital, using assets they already had in their library, along with the expertise of VFX supervisor Guy Williams, who had worked with Weta on the Suicide Squad. Weta, of course, have worked on everything. Lord of the Rings, various Marvel and DC projects, that sick-as-hell Predator sequel where Eddie Brock's a serial killer. They're a one-stop shop for excellence, and with Eagley, they brought their trademark high-quality CGI to enliven that sassy, loyal bird, who better make it out of this show alive. You hear me, James Gunn? I saw what you did to those birds in the Suicide Squad. Hashtag never forget. Anyway, Eagley on set was either a green eagle-shaped prop or dummy eagle for actors' eye lines, while the voice, as it were, was provided by prolific voice actor D. Bradley Baker, who of course is a known quantity to Star Wars fans and also just fans of basically everything animated these days. The interaction between Eagley and Chris per Gunn were based on this viral video of Jeff Guidry, and his pet eagle, Freedom, and their very friendly rapport. Apparently the production did try to have a real eagle on set for reference, much like what was done for Rocket Raccoon, but it didn't seem to like being part of the action, and so they scrapped that idea. Which makes sense. James Gunn loves birds, and loves killing CGI birds.
Thanks, Eagley.
Another creation of theirs shows up in episode 5, Charlie the Gorilla, who might be based on Sergeant Gorilla, real name Charlie, who first appeared in Star Spangled War Stories number 126.
What do you mean, how do you pin a medal on a gorilla? He's wearing freaking clothes. Just put the freaking medal on his freaking clothes. What's wrong with you?
Now, as far as I know, Gunn has yet to verify that connection, but knowing Gunn's work and his penchant for tossing in characters like freaking Batmite and Matter Eater Lad, not terribly surprising if it's the case. Also, since I know someone will bring it up in the comments, yes, I did notice the news bulletin that mentioned an escaped gorilla in episode 4, it's called Foreshadowing, but the interesting bit of trivia with Charlie is that he's voiced by Stephen Blackehart, an actor who's been around in the James Gunniverse since his days with Troma, having appeared in Tromeo and Juliet, and going on to play small roles in Super, both Guardians of the Galaxy films, The Suicide Squad, The Belko Experiment, which James Gunn wrote, and point is, dude's a Gunn staple and he's voiced a killer gorilla. Them's some friendship goals right there. Speaking of Gunn staples, which are 2 words I'm really enjoying saying together. Elizabeth Ludlow, who plays Addie's wife Kia, had previously appeared in Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2 under heavy prosthetics. Because of this, Gunn actually cast one of his previous actors by sorta accident. I mean, you know, the casting wasn't accidental, just it wasn't a purposeful callback or something. According to Gunn, he didn't recognize her until after she'd been cast for Peacemaker. Of course, gotta shout out that stellar opening credits dance sequence choreographed by Carissa Barton, who has done choreography for various projects across theater, television, film, music videos, basically everywhere you'd expect there to be dance choreography. The dance itself was based on and influenced by comic book action panels, modern dance, Charlie Chaplin, Buster Keaton, basically everything you'd put in a blender for a tasty dance smoothie. Barton's also the wife of actor Alan Tudyk, who was actually John Cena's stand-in for dance rehearsals while he was unavailable, presumably, I don't know, doing charity work in Burma or something. Bonus fun fact, Judo Master peeks out before showing up for his little moment. I see you, little buckaroo. Also, the title sequence, both the dance and wigwam included, were in James Gunn's script for the show from the very beginning, which, like, man, dude loves his dance sequences. Another memorable part of the show early on was that fight sequence in the apartment in episode 1, wherein John Cena bears quite a bit of himself and battles it out with a butterfly while dressed only in his underwear. If you're like me, you immediately wondered, how the hell do you find a stunt double for naked John Cena? Like, you know, I love the dude, but like, he's got a kind of a weird body. I mean that in the best possible way. Dude's ripped as hell. I want him to cuddle me, but you'd recognize that meat sack anywhere. Well, it turns out he does in fact have a stunt double by the name of Spencer Thomas, who did explain his process to Men's Health, but I'm not paid enough to shell out for MVP access on that article, so I'm skipping that bit. Point is, though, there is a body double for Cena who's worked with him ever since they first worked together on Bumblebee, and also, he's as ripped as you'd expect. Now, the improv. As is to be expected on a James Gunn film, there's lots of it. Whether that's a remnant of his time working in the low-budget trenches with Troma, or just how his demented mind works, I don't know, but Peacemaker is, of course, no different, and contains plenty of hilarious on-the-spot bits. Notably, the Chewbacca scene, which I don't think I can play in full for this video, but you know the one. Wookiee teeth, man. These scenes were often a combination of Gunn and whichever actor was improvising, generally John Cena, because, well, he's Peacemaker, and the show is called Peacemaker. The Wookiee scene in particular was pitched by Gunn during filming, and there's even video of him trying desperately to not laugh while feeding the line to Cena.
Little known fact.
Similarly, this sequence with Cena listing off names was jump-started by Gunn. However, his handful of suggestions were quickly ballooned to like a minute and a half of non-stop names from Cena, who even attempted to add his co-workers to the DCEU canon.
Freddie Stroma, James Gunn, those last two aren't even things.
Also, I literally, just before recording this, watched the latest episode of Peacemaker, and when John Cena's playing the piano, that's actually him playing the piano. What? Like, I don't even know that I register as vaguely talented in any one category compared to John Cena. It's both inspiring and depressing. Oh, and by the way, did you know that Freddie Stroma, who plays Vigilante, is British?
He looks up to Peacemaker a lot.
So sexy. Speaking of standout castings, the character of Amanda Waller's daughter, Leota Adebayo, was apparently written specifically for Danielle Brooks, who had previously starred in all 7 seasons of Orange is the New Black.
They call me tasty, cause my
pancakes
be delicious.
Gunn was pretty taken with her performance, and due to the excitement of an action-heavy role, working with James Gunn, and getting to play Waller's offspring, she was down for it from the get-go. Sadly, despite having a blast on the production, Danielle wasn't able to be there for the final day to celebrate its completion due to being exposed to COVID, which, you know, luckily did turn out to be nothing. Also, Leota is James Gunn's mother's name, so that's sweet, and presumably means she won't be killed off. Right, James? Oh, and that photo taken in episode 5 of the group after their successful mission against the butterflies, that was actually taken by Jennifer Holland as seen in the episode. That right there, that's Jennifer's finger. And finally, apparently this project was so mentally enriching for Gunn that after Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3 finishes up, he might just stick to TV once and for all. So who knows, maybe his tenure as Peacemaker's showrunner will last much longer than anticipated. 6 seasons and a movie, baby! Or, I guess just 6 seasons, but yeah, you get it.
School wasn't my bag, it's for dorks.
And yeah, if you haven't checked out Gunn's Twitter account, by the way, which I guess is kind of why he did this show in the first place, that's honestly where I got a ton of my information for this video. Dude live tweets every episode, and in addition to being charming and candid, he gives a ton of valuable deets about the production. Now then, James, where my Lloyd Kaufman cameo at?